Dr. Sarah Chen pressed her face against the cold metal window of the mining ship. Stars dotted the black space around them like tiny diamonds. She had been working with the alien crew for 3 months now, studying how different species work together in space. It was supposed to be peaceful research work. The ship shook hard. Sarah grabbed the wall to keep from falling. Red lights flashed everywhere. The alien captain's voice came through the speakers, speaking in the clicking language of the Zilithians. Sarah's translator device turned his words into English. Ion storm hitting us. All crew to safe areas. Cargo bay damaged. Sarah hurried toward the main deck. The Zilithians moved around her with their long, thin bodies and 4 arms. They always seemed calm, even during problems. Their gray skin never showed fear or worry. Sarah had learned they thought with logic only. Emotions were weakness to them. Captain Vexthon stood at the control center. His large black eyes looked at the damage reports on his screen. Sarah walked up to him carefully. As the only human on the ship, she had to be respectful. "Captain, is everyone safe?" Sarah asked. "All crew members are fine. Ship damage is minor. Only Cargo Bay 3 has problems." Vexthon did not look at her when he spoke. His voice sounded flat and emotionless. "What kind of cargo is in Bay 3? Live specimens. 2 Fenrisian wolves, mother and young cub. Bought them for transport to the Vega markets." Sarah felt her stomach drop. She had read about Fenrisian wolves. They were large, intelligent creatures from a distant planet. Many people bought them as rare pets, though Sarah always thought this seemed wrong. "Are they hurt?" "Unknown. Heavy metal beams fell during the storm. The animals are trapped underneath." Sarah felt worry growing in her chest. "Can we help them?" Vex then finally looked at her. His black eyes showed no feeling at all. "Rescue would cost too much time and fuel. The cargo value is only 800 credits. Rescue operation would cost over 2,000 credits. But they're living creatures. They might be scared or hurt. They are property. Math shows rescue is not profitable." Vexthon turned back to his screen. "Prepare Bay 3 for space ejection. We will cut our losses." Sarah stared at him. "You're going to throw them into space? Standard procedure for damaged cargo that costs more to save than it's worth." Sarah felt anger and shock rising in her throat. She wanted to shout, but she knew that would not help. Silithians never understood human emotions. To them, her anger would just prove that humans were too weak for space work. "Captain, please, let me at least check if they're still alive. Waste of time. Decision is final." Sarah watched Vex then give orders to his crew. They began preparing to open the cargo bay doors. In 10 minutes, anything inside would be sucked out into the cold emptiness of space. She walked quickly to the observation deck. From there, she could see into Cargo Bay 3 through a thick window. Emergency lights cast red shadows on everything. Sarah pressed against the glass and looked down. At first, she saw only twisted metal and broken boxes. Then she heard it. A low, sad sound that made her heart hurt. It was not quite a howl, more like crying. The sound went right through her, making her feel pain that was not her own. Sarah looked harder and finally saw them. Under a fallen beam, a large gray wolf lay on her side. Her breathing came fast and shallow. Blood matted her thick fur. Next to her, barely visible, a small cub pressed against his mother's belly. The little one was shaking with fear. The mother wolf lifted her head and looked right at Sarah through the window. Their eyes met and something impossible happened. Sarah felt the wolf's thoughts touch her mind. She felt the mother's love for her cub. She felt the terrible fear and pain. She felt the wolf begging for help, even though she knew Sarah was just another alien who would not care. Tears ran down Sarah's face. She had heard that some humans could sense animal thoughts, but she had never experienced it before. The connection was weak but real. The mother wolf was dying, but she was not asking for her own life. She only wanted someone to save her baby. The crying sound came again, weaker this time. Sarah realized it was the mother wolf calling for help in the only way she could. Sarah ran to the cargo bay controls. A Zilithian crew member named Torzen worked at the panel, preparing to open the outer doors. "Wait," Sarah said. "Don't open the bay yet. Orders are clear. Cargo ejection in 8 minutes. The animals might still be alive. We should check. Waste of resources." Captain has decided. Sarah felt the wolf mother's pain getting stronger in her mind. The connection was growing weaker, which meant the mother was dying. Soon the cub would be alone and terrified. "Please, just give me 5 minutes to look." Impossible. Bay has no air. Structural damage makes it unsafe. Sarah looked at the emergency suit locker near the control panel. She had trained in spacesuits during her preparation for this job. It would be dangerous but not impossible. What if I go in a suit? Torzen's forearms stopped moving. He stared at her with confusion. You would risk your life for cargo animals? They're not cargo. They're living beings. Illogical. Your life has value. Theirs does not. Sarah felt anger rise again. All life has value. Human emotion makes you think incorrectly. Captain will not approve rescue mission. Sarah looked back at the window. The mother wolf's eyes were closing. The cub was trying to wake her up by pushing with his tiny paws. In 6 minutes, they would both be dead in the cold of space. She made her choice. Sarah moved fast. She grabbed an emergency suit from the locker and started putting it on. Torzen watched her with shocked confusion. Stop this action. I must report to Captain. Go ahead and report, Sarah said, pulling the suit's helmet over her head. I'll be in the cargo bay. She sealed her suit and checked the air supply. 40 minutes of oxygen. That would have to be enough. Torzen spoke rapidly into his communication device. Sarah heard him telling the captain about her irrational behavior. She did not care anymore. The wolf mother's thoughts were getting weaker in her mind. There was almost no time left. Sarah entered the airlock to Cargo Bay 3. As the inner door closed behind her, she heard Captain Vexthon's angry voice on the radio. Dr. Chen, return immediately. This is direct order. I can't do that, Captain, sorry. You are contaminating our operation with human emotion. This will be reported to your superiors. I understand. Sarah opened the outer door and stepped into the damaged cargo bay. Broken metal and scattered boxes floated around her in the zero gravity. She pushed through the debris toward the trapped wolves. The mother wolf's eyes opened when Sarah reached her. Even through her helmet, Sarah could hear the wolf's thoughts more clearly now. The mother was grateful that someone had come, even if it was too late for her. Sarah knelt next to the fallen beam. It was too heavy to move alone, but she could see the cub underneath. He was small and gray with bright blue eyes full of fear. He looked at Sarah and made a tiny crying sound. The mother wolf used her last strength to push the cub toward Sarah. Through their mental connection, Sarah understood what the wolf wanted. She wanted Sarah to save her baby. She wanted Sarah to take him somewhere safe. Sarah reached out and gently picked up the cub. He was warm and soft, and he stopped crying when she held him close. The mother wolf's eyes closed one final time. Her breathing stopped. Captain Vexthon's voice crackled through the radio. Cargo bay ejection in 2 minutes. Dr. Chen, you must exit immediately. Sarah looked down at the wolf cub in her arms. He looked back at her with trust in his young eyes. She had saved him, but now they were both trapped in a damaged bay that was about to be opened to space. She activated her radio. Captain, I have the cub. We're both alive, but I need help getting out. Negative. Rescue operation too expensive. You made a logical choice. Accept consequences. Sarah felt cold fear in her stomach. The Zilithians were going to let her die for trying to save a life they thought was worthless. But then she heard new voices on the radio. Human voices. Sarah, this is Mike Rodriguez from engineering. We're coming to get you. And Amanda Foster from navigation. Hold tight, we have a plan. Sarah felt tears of relief in her eyes. She hugged the wolf cub closer to her chest. His small body felt warm through her suit. He seemed to understand that she was trying to help him. You cannot do this, Captain Vexthon said on the radio. His voice sounded angry for the first time. I forbid this rescue attempt. Return to your posts. Sorry, Captain. Mike's voice came back. We don't abandon our own. Sarah heard movement outside the cargo bay. She could see Mike and Amanda through the observation window. They wore emergency suits and carried tools. Behind them, 2 other humans from the ship worked to override the bay controls. Sarah, we're going to stop the ejection sequence, Amanda said. But the bay is still damaged. Air's leaking out fast. You have maybe 10 minutes before it's all gone. The structural damage is too bad for a normal rescue, Mike added. We need to get creative. Sarah looked around the cargo bay. Broken metal pieces floated everywhere. The outer wall had a large crack that would soon break completely. When that happened, everything inside would be sucked into space. What's your plan? She asked. We're going to use the emergency cargo net, Mike explained. Amanda will shoot it into the bay from outside. You grab it with the cub and we pull you both to safety. It sounded dangerous, but Sarah did not have better options. The wolf cub looked up at her with his bright blue eyes. She felt a strange connection with him, like the one she had felt with his mother. But this feeling was different. It felt like trust and hope. Okay, I'm ready. Torzen, open emergency equipment locker 7, Amanda ordered. I cannot help with unauthorized rescue, Torzen replied. Then get out of our way, Mike said. Sarah heard arguing voices through the radio. The Zilithians thought the humans were acting crazy. They could not understand why people would risk their lives for others with no profit involved. Captain Vexthon spoke again, his voice cold and formal. Human crew members, you are violating direct orders. This will be reported to your government. Your careers will be destroyed. Worth it, Mike said simply. Sarah felt the cargo bay shake. The crack in the outer wall was getting bigger. Air rushed out faster now. Her suit's pressure alarm started beeping. Hurry, guys. This place is coming apart. Almost ready, Amanda said. Sarah, when I shoot the net, you need to catch it and attach it to your suit's safety line. Hold the cub tight. This is going to be rough. Sarah adjusted her grip on the wolf cub. He seemed to sense the danger and pressed closer to her. She could feel his small heart beating fast against her chest. Fire the net, she said. A large metal net shot through the damaged bay door. Sarah reached out and grabbed it with one hand while holding the cub with the other. The net wrapped around her and she quickly attached it to her suit. Got it. Here we go, Mike said. Pull. Sarah felt herself being dragged toward the bay door. Metal debris bounced off her helmet. The wolf cub made scared noises but held still in her arms. The crack in the outer wall grew bigger and more air rushed out. Just as Sarah reached the bay door, the outer wall broke completely. Everything loose in the bay was sucked into space. If they had waited even 10 more seconds, Sarah and the cub would have been pulled out too. Strong hands grabbed Sarah and pulled her through the door. She found herself in the main corridor, surrounded by her human crewmates. Mike, Amanda, and the others looked worried but happy. You okay? Amanda asked. I think so. Sarah looked down at the wolf cub in her arms. We both are. The cub looked around at all the new faces. He seemed curious but not afraid anymore. Sarah could feel his emotions through their strange mental connection. He felt safe now. Let me see him, said Dr. James Park, the ship's medical officer. He was the 5th human on the crew. I need to check if he's hurt. Sarah carefully handed the cub to Dr. Park. The little wolf made a small crying sound when she let him go, but he stayed calm. Dr. Park examined him gently. He looks healthy, Dr. Park said. No broken bones. Maybe some bruises, but nothing serious. He's very young, probably only a few weeks old. What about his mother? Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. Dr. Park's face became sad. I'm sorry, Sarah. She was already gone when we got there. You saved the only life that could be saved. Sarah felt sadness and relief mixed together. The mother wolf was dead, but her cub was alive. Through her sacrifice, the mother had made sure her baby survived. Captain Vexthon appeared in the corridor. His black eyes showed anger and confusion. Behind him walked 3 other Zilithian crew members. Explain this behavior, Vexthon demanded. You risked 4 human lives for 1 animal worth 800 credits. The cost of this rescue was over 5,000 credits in equipment and time. This is completely illogical. Mike stepped forward. Some things are more important than money, Captain. Nothing is more important than logical resource management. Your species has serious mental problems. Amanda crossed her arms. Our species has something called compassion. You should try it sometime. Compassion leads to poor decisions and wasted resources. This incident proves humans are not suitable for space operations. Sarah felt anger rising in her chest. This incident proves that humans care about life even when it's not profitable. Life has only the value assigned by market forces, Vexthon said. That animal is worth 800 credits. Your life is worth approximately 50,000 credits due to your education and skills. You risked 50,000 to save 800. This is mathematical madness. Dr. Park handed the wolf cub back to Sarah. The little one seemed happy to return to her arms. He made a soft sound that almost sounded like purring. Look at him, Sarah said to Captain Vexthon. Look into his eyes and tell me he's just worth 800 credits. Vexthon glanced at the cub with no emotion. I see an animal that costs money to feed and care for. It has no job skills or economic value. The wolf cub looked at Captain Vexthon and tilted his small head. For just a moment, Sarah thought she saw something change in the captain's expression, but it passed quickly. I must report this incident to the Galactic Trade Federation, Vexthon said. Human emotional contamination of business operations violates several treaties. Your government will face diplomatic problems. Let them, Mike said. We'd do it again. So would I, Amanda added. And me, said Dr. Park. Sarah looked at her human friends with gratitude. They had all risked their careers and lives to help her save one small wolf cub. Not because it made sense or because they would profit from it. They did it because it was the right thing to do. We will continue to Vega Station as planned, Vexthon announced. The animal will be sold as originally intended. No, Sarah said firmly. He's not cargo anymore. I'm keeping him. You cannot afford the purchase price of 800 credits. Then I'll pay it. Sarah reached for her credit pad. It would use almost all her savings from 3 months of work, but she did not care. Vex then watched her transfer the money with obvious confusion. You paid full price for damaged cargo that almost killed you? I paid for a friend, Sarah said, scratching the cub behind his ears. He made happy sounds and licked her glove. Humans are insane, one of the other Zilithians said. Maybe, Amanda replied, but we're the good kind of insane. As the human crew members walked away together, Sarah heard the Zilithians talking in their clicking language. Her translator picked up some of their words. They were discussing whether humans were too emotionally unstable for space work. They were worried about future incidents. Sarah did not care what they thought. She looked down at the wolf cub in her arms. He looked back at her with complete trust. Through their mental connection, she could feel his emotions. He was grateful, content, and surprisingly intelligent. I need to give you a name, she said softly. How about Luna? You have eyes like little moons, the cub made a happy sound. Somehow Sarah knew he liked the name. Dr. Park walked next to her. Sarah, I need to ask you something. How did you know the wolves were still alive? The captain never said they were. Sarah thought about the strange mental connection she had felt with Luna's mother. She was not sure how to explain it. I just knew, she said. I could feel their pain somehow. Dr. Park looked interested. Some humans have developed psychic sensitivity during space travel. It's rare but documented. Maybe being around different alien species triggers something in our brains. Is that what happened to me? Maybe. Or maybe you just have good instincts and a caring heart. Sarah smiled and held Luna closer. Whatever the reason, she was glad she had listened to that voice inside telling her to act. Behind them, she heard Captain Vexthon talking on his communication system. He was reporting the incident to his superiors and to the human government. Sarah knew this would cause problems for her and her friends, but looking down at Luna's small face, she knew she would make the same choice again. Some things were more important than rules or profits or keeping aliens happy. Some things were worth fighting for, even when the whole galaxy thought you were crazy. Dr. Park made notes on his data pad. This telepathic connection could be crucial for future investigations. Dr. Park made notes on his data pad. This telepathic connection could be crucial for future investigations. 6 months after the rescue, Sarah stood on the bridge of the human ship Compassion. Through the main viewing screen, she could see a massive space station floating in the darkness. This was Nexus 7, one of the largest trading posts in the galaxy. Luna had grown much bigger and now stood almost as tall as Sarah's waist. His gray fur had silver markings that showed his royal bloodline among the Fenrisian wolves. Most importantly, his telepathic abilities had become much stronger. Sarah, Luna said through their mental connection. His thoughts came to her as clear as spoken words now. I can feel them. My people are here, many of them. Sarah placed her hand on Luna's head. Through their bond, she felt his excitement and worry mixed together. How many? Maybe 30 or 40. They're scared and sad. Some are very young like I was. Captain Rodriguez, who had been promoted after the rescue incident, walked over to them. Dr. Chen, we're getting clearance to dock. The station authorities think we're just here for routine trade business. Good. That gives us time to locate the trafficking operation before they can move the wolves. In the months since Luna's rescue, they had discovered a horrifying truth. The trafficking of Fenrisian wolves was much bigger than anyone had imagined. Criminal organizations across the galaxy were capturing entire wolf families and selling them to wealthy collectors who wanted exotic pets. The worst part was that many buyers had no idea they were purchasing sentient beings. The traffickers had spent years spreading false information about Fenrisian wolves, claiming they were just intelligent animals like dogs or cats. Luna, can you tell where your people are being held? Sarah asked. Luna closed his eyes and concentrated. Sarah felt his mind reaching out across the station, searching for familiar mental patterns. Lower level, section C. There's a big room with metal cages. The thoughts are coming from there. Luna's mental voice carried sadness. They think no one cares about them. They think they'll never see their home planet again. Dr. Park joined them on the bridge, carrying his medical equipment. Sarah, I've been monitoring the galactic news feeds. 3 more rescue operations happened this week. Human crews saved Fenrisian wolves on Titan Station, New Mars, and the Rigel colonies. Sarah felt pride mixed with concern. That's wonderful, but also suspicious. Are other humans developing telepathic connections with the wolves? It appears so. The pattern is always the same. A human crew member suddenly knows that Fenrisian wolves are in danger nearby and insists on investigating. When they find the wolves, they refuse to leave them in captivity. Captain Rodriguez frowned. The alien governments are getting worried. They're calling it human contagion syndrome. They think we're all becoming emotionally unstable. Let them think that, Sarah said. While they argue about human emotions, we're saving lives. Luna suddenly became alert, his ears standing straight up. Sarah, something's wrong. The thoughts from my people just got much more frightened. Through the viewing screen, Sarah could see security ships moving around the station. Red warning lights flashed on several docking bays. Captain, are you monitoring station communications? Sarah asked. Captain Rodriguez checked his control panel. Station security is reporting a situation in the lower levels. They're sealing off Section C. Sarah's heart sank. They know we're coming. Someone warned them. How is that possible? Our mission was classified. Dr. Park looked grim. There must be someone in the human government working with the traffickers. How else would they know about our arrival? Luna pressed against Sarah's side. My people are being moved. I can feel their fear getting stronger. They're being taken to ships. Courtney, we have to act now, Sarah said. Captain, can we dock faster? Already working on it. Rodriguez contacted the docking control. Nexus 7 Control, this is Human Ship Compassion requesting priority docking for medical emergency. Negative, Compassion. All docking bays are currently restricted. Sarah felt anger rising in her chest. The traffickers were escaping while bureaucrats followed procedures. Captain, she said, remember what Mike Rodriguez said during Luna's rescue? Some things are more important than rules, Captain Rodriguez replied with a grim smile. All crew, prepare for emergency docking procedures. The Compassion accelerated toward the station without waiting for permission. Alarm signals sounded from the station's traffic control, but Captain Rodriguez ignored them. Dr. Chen, Luna said urgently. The scared thoughts are moving toward the far side of the station. They're taking my people to cargo ships. How many ships? 3 big ones. If they get away, Sarah understood. If 3 cargo ships full of Fenrisian wolves escaped into space, they might never be found again. The Compassion docked with a hard thud that shook the entire ship. Before the docking clamps were fully secured, Sarah and her team were running toward the airlock. Luna bounded alongside them, his powerful legs carrying him easily through the ship's corridors. They emerged into the station's main level to find chaos everywhere. Security guards were running in all directions. Alien merchants and travelers looked confused and frightened. Emergency announcements echoed through the corridors in a dozen different languages. This way, Luna said, leading them toward a maintenance shaft that would take them to the lower levels. As they moved through the station, Sarah noticed something strange. Other humans were also moving with purpose through the chaos. A woman in a maintenance uniform was heading in the same direction they were. 2 men in trader clothing were following parallel corridors toward the lower levels. Dr. Park, Sarah said, are you seeing this? The other humans? Yes. I think they're feeling the same telepathic pull that Luna is sending out. Luna looked back at Sarah as they reached the maintenance shaft. I've been calling to any human who can hear me. My people need help and humans are the only ones who listen. They dropped down through the maintenance shaft into Section C. The corridors here were dimmer and smelled of recycled air and cleaning chemicals. Luna led them quickly through a maze of passages. Close now, he said. Very close. They turned a corner and found a large cargo bay with the doors standing open. Inside, Sarah could see empty metal cages and scattered feeding bowls. The trafficking operation had been here, but now it was gone. We're too late, Dr. Park said. No, Luna replied firmly. Follow me. He ran across the cargo bay to a small door on the far side. Sarah and her team followed him through the door and up a ramp that led to the station's external docking area. Here they found the 3 cargo ships Luna had sensed. 2 of them were already pulling away from the station, but the third was still connected to a docking tube. Sarah could hear engines starting up. "That one," Luna said. "Most of my people are on that ship." Through the docking tube's windows, Sarah could see figures moving inside the ship. Some were human-shaped, but others were definitely Fenrisian wolves being herded by armed guards. Captain Rodriguez and his security team arrived behind them, carrying stunner weapons and rescue equipment. "That ship is about to depart," Rodriguez said. "If we're going to stop them, it has to be now." Sarah looked at the docking tube. It would detach automatically when the ship tried to leave. Anyone inside the tube when that happened would be sucked into space. "Luna, how many guards are on the ship?" He closed his eyes and reached out with his mind. 4 humans with weapons, maybe 6 Silithians. All of them are angry and scared. "How many of your people?" 23. Mostly young ones and females. "They're in the cargo hold." Sarah made her decision. "Captain, I'm going aboard that ship." "Too dangerous. We should call for backup. There's no time. By the time backup arrives, those wolves will be gone forever." Luna stepped forward. "I'm coming too. My people need to know that rescue is coming." Dr. Park checked his medical equipment. "Count me in. Some of those wolves might be injured." Captain Rodriguez shook his head, but he was smiling. "Human contagion syndrome strikes again. All right, let's go save some lives." They ran through the docking tube just as the ship began its departure sequence. Warning lights flashed and automated voices announced that the tube would detach in 2 minutes. Sarah felt her heart racing as they boarded the trafficking ship. The corridors were narrow and filled with the smell of fear and unwashed bodies. Luna's nose twitched as he picked up scents. "This way," he said, leading them deeper into the ship. They found the cargo hold behind a locked door. Captain Rodriguez used an emergency override to open it. Inside, Sarah saw a sight that made her both angry and heartbroken. 23 Fenrisian wolves huddled together in metal cages that were too small for their bodies. Most were young, like Luna had been. Some were adults with scars from previous captivity. All of them looked up with eyes full of fear and hopelessness. But when they saw Luna, everything changed. The young wolf stepped forward and made a sound that was part howl, part song. Sarah felt waves of emotion through their connection. Joy, relief, and desperate hope. The captive wolves responded with their own calls. Even through the cage bars, Sarah could feel their mental voices reaching out to Luna and, amazingly, to her as well. "They can all sense me," she realized. Just like Luna's mother did. Luna walked up to the nearest cage where a young female wolf pressed against the bars. "I told them you would." 1 year later, Sarah stood in the memorial garden on New Geneva Station. The garden was quiet and peaceful, with flowers from a dozen different worlds growing under artificial sunlight. In the center stood a simple stone monument with names carved into its surface. Luna sat beside her, now fully grown into a magnificent wolf with silver-gray fur and wise blue eyes. His telepathic abilities had grown so strong that he could communicate clearly with humans across the entire station. "She would be proud," Luna said. His thoughts warm in Sarah's mind as they looked at his mother's name on the memorial stone. The monument honored all the Fenrisian wolves who had died in captivity before the great rescue operations began. Luna's mother's name was carved at the top, with the words, "Her sacrifice started a revolution," written below it. Sarah placed her hand on Luna's head, feeling the deep contentment that flowed between them. "Your mother saved more than just you, Luna. She saved thousands of your people." In the years since the Nexus 7 rescue, everything had changed. The trafficking network had collapsed as humans across the galaxy began responding to telepathic distress calls from captive Fenrisian wolves. Every time traffickers tried to move their cargo, human crews would suddenly develop an irrational need to investigate. The alien governments had finally stopped calling it human contagion syndrome when they realized what was really happening. Humans weren't becoming emotionally unstable. They were evolving into something new. Their minds were naturally developing the ability to hear telepathic calls for help from other sentient beings. Dr. Park approached them through the garden, carrying a datapad with the latest reports. His research into human Fenrisian telepathy had made him famous across the galaxy. "Sarah, I have the final numbers from the rescue operations," he said. "As of today, we've freed 2,147 Fenrisian wolves from illegal captivity. The last known trafficking ship was shut down yesterday near the Andromeda border." Sarah felt a wave of satisfaction. What about the wolves themselves? How are they adapting to freedom? Better than we hoped. Most have chosen to return to their home planet, but about 300 have asked to stay and work with human rescue teams. They want to help free other species that might be facing similar situations. Luna's ears perked up with interest. Other species? Dr. Park nodded. Your people's telepathic abilities work with more than just humans. They've detected distress calls from at least 6 other species that we thought were non-sentient. It turns out the galaxy has a much bigger slavery problem than anyone realized. Sarah looked around the memorial garden and saw other human Fenrisian partnerships visiting the monument. Each human had bonded with a rescued wolf, creating teams that could detect and respond to telepathic distress calls from anywhere in the galaxy. Commander Torres walked up to them, wearing the new uniform of the Galactic Rescue Service. The organization had been created specifically to handle the growing number of rescue operations sparked by human Fenrisian teams. Dr. Chen, I have news from the Galactic Council meeting, Torres said. They've officially appointed you as the first human ambassador for sentient rights. Luna will serve as your co-ambassador and the official representative of the Fenrisian people. Sarah felt surprise and honor mixed together. What does that mean exactly? It means you and Luna will travel throughout the galaxy, working with different species to identify and protect sentient beings who have been misclassified as animals or property. You'll have the authority to investigate suspected trafficking operations and coordinate rescue missions. Luna stood up and made a sound that was part howl, part song. Sarah felt his excitement and determination through their bond. We accept, Sarah said, but we want to work with the other human Fenrisian teams. This shouldn't be just one partnership making decisions for everyone. Already arranged. You'll head up a council of 12 teams, each specializing in different types of rescue operations. Dr. Park checked his data pad. Speaking of which, we've received 3 new distress calls this week. One from the Rigel system, one from the outer colonies near Tau Ceti, and one from somewhere in the galactic core. What kinds of distress calls? Sarah asked. Luna closed his eyes and reached out with his powerful telepathic abilities. After a moment, his eyes opened with concern. The Rigel call is from creatures that live in water. They're being kept in 2 small tanks for entertainment. The Tau Ceti call is from flying beings who are being forced to perform in shows. The Galactic Core call. Luna paused, his expression becoming troubled. What is it? Sarah asked. It's different, stronger. The beings calling for help are very intelligent, maybe more than humans or my people, but they're trapped somewhere underground and can't escape. Commander Torres looked worried. How many beings are we talking about? Hundreds, maybe thousands. And Sarah, Luna's mental voice carried fear for the first time in months. I think they've been trapped for a very long time, generations. Sarah felt cold worry in her stomach. If Luna was right, they might have discovered something much worse than simple trafficking operations. This could be an entire civilization held in captivity. Commander, we need to investigate all 3 locations, but especially the Galactic Core signal. I'll authorize 3 separate missions. You and Luna take the core investigation. It sounds like it might be the most dangerous. Dr. Park looked excited despite the seriousness of the situation. This could change everything we know about galactic civilization. If highly intelligent beings have been held captive for generations, who knows what knowledge and culture have been lost? Sarah nodded, then looked back at the memorial stone. Luna, your mother started something that's growing beyond anything we imagined. Her sacrifice is still saving lives. And it will continue to save lives, Luna replied, as long as there are beings in the galaxy who cry for help. Humans and Fenrisians will answer. A new group entered the memorial garden. A mixed team of humans and Fenrisian wolves who had just returned from a successful rescue operation on the frontier worlds. They walked together in perfect partnership, their minds linked by the same telepathic bonds that connected Sarah and Luna. Sarah watched them with pride and hope. These teams represented something completely new in galactic civilization. Beings of different species working together not for profit or politics, but out of pure compassion for others who were suffering. The alien governments had initially been worried about humans becoming too emotional and unpredictable, but now they were beginning to understand that human empathy, combined with Fenrisian telepathy, was creating a force for good that the galaxy had never seen before. Captain Rodriguez approached the group, now wearing the insignia of the rescue service, Ambassador Chen, Ambassador Luna. Your ship is ready for departure. The new Compassion has been equipped with the latest rescue equipment and a full medical bay. Sarah looked at Luna, and through their bond, she felt his readiness for the next mission. They had come so far from that first desperate rescue in a damaged cargo bay. Now they were leading a galactic movement to protect all sentient life. "Are you ready for this?" she asked Luna. "I was born ready," he replied with confidence that reminded Sarah of his brave mother. "My people have waited generations for someone to hear our calls for help. Now that humans are listening, we'll make sure no one else has to wait that long for rescue." As they walked toward their ship, Sarah reflected on how much had changed since that day when she chose to save one small wolf cub. That single act of compassion had grown into a galaxy-wide movement that was reshaping how different species treated each other. The alien officials had been wrong about human emotions being a weakness. Compassion, empathy, and the willingness to risk everything for others, these weren't flaws in human nature. They were humanity's greatest gifts to the galaxy. Behind them, other human Fenrisian teams were preparing for their own missions. Each team carried the same message that Luna's mother had tried to send from her damaged cargo bay. There are people who care, people who will come to help, people who believe that every life has value beyond what others are willing to pay for it. The memorial garden grew quiet as the teams departed for their missions. But the stone monument remained, carrying its simple message carved in the universal language used throughout the galaxy. To all who cry for help in the darkness, you are heard, you are valued, and you are not alone. On dozens of worlds across the galaxy, beings who had given up hope suddenly felt new thoughts touching their minds, human thoughts full of determination and care, Fenrisian thoughts promising that rescue was coming. The galaxy was learning a new truth. Sometimes the most powerful force in the universe isn't technology or weapons or money. Sometimes it's simply the willingness of one person to hear another's cry for help and answer, "I'm coming." Sarah and Luna's ship launched into the star-filled darkness, heading toward the galactic core and whatever ancient captivity awaited them there. They flew not as conquerors or traders or explorers, but as something the galaxy had rarely seen before, rescuers who asked for nothing in return except the chance to help. Behind them, the memorial garden's lights dimmed to simulate night, but across the galaxy, the light of hope grew brighter in places that had been dark for far too long.